Hi everyone, and welcome to StudioJake. I, of course, am your host, Jacob Airy. Welcome to my vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture, from anime to television to novels to interviewing interesting people, and also movies. So, it's no secret I'm a big nerd. You could probably figure that out by looking at my desk and looking at the images behind me. But one of the things that I used to get excited for, circa 2000 and beyond, was the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I admittedly didn't see Iron Man in theaters, but I did see every subsequent Marvel film in theaters up until the end of Phase 4. I would always be there opening night or at least the opening weekend. Sometimes I would even go the opening Thursday nights that they do to kind of stave off the Friday crowd. Sometimes I would even do that. That's actually how I saw Spider-Man No Way Home as well as Infinity War and Endgame and the first Avengers. Now, I didn't rush to the theaters to see Thor Love and Thunder, Eternals, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and I still have not seen Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. And it's really upsetting to me because this was a franchise that I greatly enjoyed. It's one that I really dove into a great deal, obviously spent a lot of money on it, and it's one that I struggle with a little bit because of how it has evolved under Disney's watchful eye. Now, remember, pretty much the first two phases of the MCU were not controlled by Disney. Everyone kind of forgets this. Paramount was kind of borrowing from everyone except for Sony, which of course had the rights to Spider-Man. I think they still do, and then they previously had the rights to well, I can't think of it off the right of my hand, but X-Men and Fantastic Four were over at Fox, and Paramount managed to get like Universal and Lionsgate and a few of the other studios that own the rights to the Marvel characters to come together for the MCU, and that's how we got the first Avengers as well as Age of Ultron. Now, shortly after Age of Ultron, Disney had bought Marvel Studios and was using that influence to bring them all under the umbrella of Disney, and also that's why they spent way too much money on 20th Century Fox so they could get the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. They have like this weird deal with Sony where they can borrow Spider-Man for the MCU, but Sony always has a hand in making those films. So, all that to say, when Disney started taking over, they started to care more about, this sort of politically correct to the extreme message, and they started doing more race and gender swaps, so to speak, and changing the orientation of characters. They started doing this in the comics as well, and you can see that since then it has been affecting the box office numbers, especially with films that we should have been excited about, like Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse of Madness. Those are all projects that we should have been like incredibly excited for, but we weren't, because you could see that starting with Captain Marvel, the quality was in decline. Now, Endgame was being filmed at the same time as Infinity War, so it wasn't really affected by that, but you could see from Captain Marvel and then into sort of the next phase, you could see how it started to trickle down, and it was from when they transitioned from what they were calling the Infinity Saga into now the Multiverse Saga, and it's just very disappointing in this, and we are seeing this in real time, like I said, with box office numbers. We're seeing these films barely break even, not making a profit at all, and this is happening with Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. It has been shrinking, no pun intended, at the box office. It has been greatly affected by Disney's meandering. Apparently, this all started under Bob Iger. Bob Chapek tried to right the ship a little bit, but he failed. He gave in. He caved. And then now Bob Iger is back at Disney. And so he's apparently trying to right the ship. But it's difficult because Kevin Feige, who's the head of Marvel Studios, Kathleen Kennedy, who's the head of Lucasfilm, which does Star Wars, the two of them are kind of like his chosen people. He even chased away John Lasseter away from Pixar, and they put one of his stooges in charge. Lasseter is now at a totally different company now, and starting to do good things there, is my understanding. And with this, you kind of see this because Box Office Mojo notes that domestic wise, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumanium has only made back 205 million against, I think, a $500 million budget. Now worldwide, they're doing a little bit better. Going to all these different countries, and then forcing, Chinese are forcing the Chinese Communist Party are forcing their citizens to go watch these movies. Same with Avatar, Way of Water. We saw that, and except with that, they were successful. Not as successful, but we're seeing that with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, in that before it was almost unheard of for a Marvel film not to at least make back double its budget in its first week, even if they were, or maybe even their second week if they were sort of a sleeper hit early on. But it was almost unheard of. These movies always did gangbusters. Now, some people have said it's because of superhero fatigue, and there is some merit to that. Right, there was a time when it felt like, every studio was pushing some sort of superhero story. And, that certainly is true, right? Marvel was putting out three, 4 films a year. Same with DC. DC was trying to do that with Warner Brothers, with the original DCEU. Now it's just the DCU. They were really pushing out all of these different films. They were trying to get different directors who could make the films at the same time, and it just got out of control and out of hand. And Disney Marvel started competing with Disney Marvel. And I think there is something to say about audience fatigue. However, along came a spider. When we saw how Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Captain Marvel, how they were kind of tepidly accepted by the audiences, but then Spider-Man No Way Home comes along and it blows everything out of the water. And you can see the same thing with the excitement over Batman Caped Crusader, which I am cautiously optimistic about, over at Amazon Studios, and also Samaritan, which is a standalone independent superhero film from Amazon Studios. Amazon Studios has been killing it otherwise. They've got The Boys, Invincible. I really enjoyed Invincible. I kind of got tired of The Boys. I liked the first season, but season 2 and 3 was just political pandering. I mean, there was always political pandering in it, but it just was overdone in The Boys season 2 and 3. I'm not even going to watch the spinoff. That's how turned off I am by it now. And basically the same thing that's happening at Disney and Warner Brothers, right? Warner Brothers Discovery. But I don't think it's so much, if I can just wager an opinion, that tells me that it's not superhero fatigue that just general audience are. Like, maybe pop culture commentators like me, well, not me, but I mean other pop culture commentators, they're kind of tired of superhero movies, right? Because, it's their job to see all of them, if they want to. I certainly don't. I don't waste my time if a movie doesn't look interesting, very rarely. And like, I haven't seen Ant-Man yet. If I see it this year, I'll be sure to put up a review. But we're seeing this happen sort of in real time. So I think general audiences will go see a superhero movie if they like the trailer, if it looks good. But they're just kind of tired of the political pandering that Disney and Warner Brothers Discovery are pushing onto these movies, and you can see that it's affecting the box office. It's really hurting the box office returns. Now, what does this mean for superhero movies at large? I think that because apparently Bob Iger's coming in with this new strategy, they're going to rein in sort of the upcoming Marvel Phase 5. They're going to change it up. They're going to focus on quantity over quality. They were focusing on quantity over quality. I'm sorry, I said that backwards. They're focusing on quality over quantity. Now, we'll see, though, because they're still hiring writers who worked on TV shows that got canceled, directors who are kind of up and coming but don't have a lot of experience. Now, sometimes that works, right? When you think about the director of the Tom Holland Spider-Man films. Now, I know a lot of people don't like that version of Spider-Man. I thought that even though they made him more of Iron Man's sidekick, he still maintained enough of his comic book facets to still be considered, a Spider-Man. And, and certainly Spider-Man No Way Home sort of restored him, although I was kind of disappointed we didn't see Tom Hardy's Venom except in cameo in that film, but, whatever. So that tells me that the general audiences aren't tired of superhero films. They just want them to be good. They want to be able to enjoy them. They're tired of sort of this woke nonsense where they're going to just shove communist propaganda into you, constantly yelling and virtue signaling and lecturing the audience. And if you don't like something, they call you all kinds of names. Audiences are tired of that. For one thing, anyone in Hollywood, maybe with the exception of Keanu Reeves and Patricia Heaton, do not need to be lecturing anyone about anything. They have worked with people who have committed egregious crimes. Think about Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein, all kinds of just absolute terrible people. And yes, they did know. Maybe the people who don't actually live in California, maybe they didn't know. But the people who were in Hollywood, in New York, the sort of entertainment industry meccas, they knew about all that stuff. And you can't convince me otherwise. Quentin Tarantino was just basically besties with Harvey Weinstein. Same with Matt Damon and Brad Pitt and Ben Affleck. All those guys, they were, they all knew. I mean, you can't convince me that they didn't. I just don't think so. And one of the reasons I think that this evidence of that is when they did the big Oscars and the Golden Globes, they brought on people who, they didn't bring on like people who had confirmed interactions with Harvey Weinstein, maybe one or two, but it was, they brought on Oprah. Oh, yeah, well, let's see, what was Oprah doing? Oh, Oprah was sitting next to him and hugging him at different dinners, at donor parties and stuff. Absolutely ridiculous nonsense. They were bringing on Meryl Streep. No one should ever take a moral lecture from Meryl Streep. She has backed a criminal like Roman Polanski and an awful, terrible, I have to be careful what I say on YouTube, awful, terrible person like Harvey Weinstein. So I don't want to hear any lecturing from the likes of people like Meryl Streep. Absolutely ridiculous, absolute nonsense. And I just think that that's what people are tired of. They don't have superhero fatigue. They have that moralizing, fake, I'm better than you sort of fatigue. They're tired of celebrities pretending like they are our royals, because they're not. They used to be. Social media has ended that. We've gotten to a peek behind the curtain, and we don't like what we see. So that's just my honest opinion. If you disagree with me, I would let you know that you're wrong. No, I'm kidding. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your take on it. But unless something shifts, I don't see anything changing for Hollywood. I'm not excited for any MCU projects, much less Star Wars ones. So we'll see where this goes, where it's headed, and how future box office numbers for superhero films will be affected. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you'll give it a thumbs up, that you'll leave me a comment, tell me what you think, that you'll share it out with your friends, and of course, consider subscribing to StudioJake. I cover all kinds of nerd and pop culture topics, including film, television, anime, comic books, and so much more. I hope that you'll also head over to my main website, StudioJakeMedia.com, where I have even more news, views, and commentary. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, head over to my locals page. That's studiojakemedia.locals.com. It's the best way to support me. I'm trying to build a little community there. I have exclusive reviews and articles, so definitely head over there and check it out. And I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.